Hey everybody, welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast. This is an exciting show because we get to talk about what's coming up, cool things that are coming up. We get to look back at NINC where we did some cool presentations, and we get to look forward to our own Smarter Artist Summit where we're doing some more presentations. And we're planning that now. And so this is the theme, the title of this show is about leveling up from wherever you are, like how to raise your game at whatever stage you're at. But one of the main reasons that we're thinking about this right now is because we've been talking a lot about this stuff and we're leveling up the summit. Like an email went out this morning about the ways that we're leveling up, making the summit much, much better than years one and especially two. So yeah, so that's what we're doing today.
I really like this. And I'm excited about this show, but it kind of sucks that it's at an off time. It's not a regular time. So there's no chat. And while actually that could be a good thing because maybe we'll be able to 100% focus and, not pay attention to the little matrix stream over there. But it feels odd. It feels like, okay, well, it feels like we're having a business meeting or something because there's no other activity over there, but that should be fun.
Well, maybe some people will pop in and surprise us. You just never know. People know that something's going on. Maybe Dave will tweet the show.
Oh, Dave, you want to kick it old school?
This show isn't as important as worst show ever, but maybe every once in a while.
Yeah, he'll fly to tweet that.
So anything cool going on?
Yeah, so much. Well, next week something cool will be that we went to the Austin Film Festival because that starts tomorrow night, and that's really fun. And Dave,
that was sort of mine. Can I hop onto this one? We'll just
yeah. You take it, and then I'll circle back.
Well, that's it. We're going to the Austin Film Festival, and I think it'll be really interesting. And the next show we record, we'll be able to talk a little bit about what the experience was like. But it's kind of stupid overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
We just knew we wanted to do it, and so I went and I looked at the schedule to try and figure out what it is that we should do. And it's something like 10 days. It's just just goes on and on. But I think it's 3 or 4 days of panels, like the conference part. And then it's the films that continue on. So it just kind of lingers throughout the next weeks. But we're doing, there's a fundraiser dinner thing that we're doing on Wednesday that we'll go to. And then we're going to go downtown on Thursday because there's one about like how to manage the conference, how to hack the conference.
Right.
We don't know what the hell we're doing.
We have no idea. Johnny sends me all this information and well, actually, no, they're sending all the information, but he's just asking quite naturally, what's the plan? And at home too, Cindy's like, so what's the plan? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff and it's every day. But there's no way it makes sense for us to take a week off of work and just go see movies and hang out at the festival. So we're going to go on Thursday and just kind of make a plan. But I guarantee you a week from now, there will be something cool at Sterling and Stone that happened because of the film festival, because that's how it works. And which is actually a really great component to today's show because that's exactly the point. You go to things like the film festival, you go to things like the summit, and you change. Everything grows a little. So, Dave, anything cool?
I'm trying to tweet.
It's such an industrious operation.
Wow, that's chewing gum and walking.
But it is interesting how that happens because there have been so many things. I mean, we've said this a bunch of times that whenever we travel, the company makes more money. And you'd think at this point, like we kind of try to pre-guess it. Like, maybe we'll meet these people or whatever. And we went to...
You can never pre-guess it.
No, I mean, and the last thing that we went to was NINC. And it's just like, it's just in different ways. Like it was like a bunch of people that we met that are now going to go to the summit. And there are people that are going to, that we'll have connections with going forward. And we know more about NINC and, Story Shop, like... I don't know, like there are people sponsoring these events. Maybe we should do that. Like these are all the wheels that are turning just from being in a different environment. And you never see it coming.
No, you can't really organize it that way. All you can do is expect for the best. And actually that's one of my favorite talking points around the summit. So we'll dive into that deeper. But my something cool is really, really cool. It's something we've waited just years for. A few weeks back, we opened the doors to Sterling and Stone for the first time for other writers and storytellers to join us. And we've been working hard to kind of make that happen. And we we're building out our studio. We have a team. We have a team to get us to kind of the next phase. And we're building out our in-house imprints, just like we've talked about for a while. And that's just super, super exciting.
Don't listen to this and say, I'm going to apply. Application, that was a while ago. Like it's,
we cracked open the door. No, we cracked open the door, and Jen got overwhelmed with applications. She did an amazing job filtering them so that, you know, we ended up with something really remarkable. So I'm really, really excited. Our whole company is really excited, between the studio and Stories to Go, which we haven't talked much about on the show, but we will. It's really harmonized, and there's just amazing things happening. I've never had more fun at work. I've never felt like I'm accomplishing more. And so collaboration has just taken on a whole new meaning. Yes, Dave looks all excited. What's up, Dave?
No. Myself.
No, you got a little smirk. I want to know what's on your mind.
Nothing.
All right.
I'm working with these guys on without going into too much detail, and I won't, on a story package basically that we're building together. 4 stories to go, which we'll mention again another time. And it's one that's going to go from each of us. You know, it's like Sean did it, and then it went to me, and it'll go to Dave. And there's a dog in it, so I get it. I'm like,
oh, okay.
This dog is toast. Like, this dog is not going to survive. I was just waiting, and so the dog did. The spoiler alert on this thing that you don't know what it is. The dog did survive, and I was very thankful. And I said, well, it's still going to go to Dave though, so this dog's probably going to die now. And there's no necessity. It'll be like the Hunger Games, where she just dies at the end anyway. This little sister. Sorry, spoiler for the Hunger Games.
The person will open the door and let the dog out, and they'll just get hit by a car.
It'll be like the end scene, and then the dog died.
Oh man, I can actually see that. I do want to see how. I mean, Dave's just going to. He's gonna.
Dave lives in the Twilight Zone. That's the thing. There's always a little twist. Terrible ending waiting around the corner.
There's no one I can't imagine working with anybody who would be able to find such a dark twist to everything. But it's not just that. It's the pure glee he takes in finding that twist. Look at him now. He does. I swear he sports wood half the time. He's like, he's just talking. Like, the darker it is, the more pain that could be caused from this idea, the happier he is.
Yeah, that's weird, eh?
Well, it's a little unsettling. I enjoy it, but I'm glad I'm not redacted. I'm glad I get to enjoy it from the outside in.
The hard part is, like, when I'm writing a children's book, to like steer away from that dark part that wants to, okay, let's kill everybody off. Because
well,
probably go over as well.
It doesn't go well with like little kid stuff, but
that's what I'm talking about.
Disney's done it really well. I mean, you can't kill everybody
in the Dave way, where everybody
right. That's what I'm saying. But you can take some of your dark themes and turn them into children's classics, I think, for sure. But
when Rise of the Guardians was out, I remember Guillermo del Toro saying that children, like, they're tougher than you think. Like
I agree. Dave, you could totally do Guillermo style children's stuff.
Yeah, well, he's dark as me. So
Dave's Labyrinth.
Oh my God, I want to go. I want to get lost in Dave's Labyrinth.
Yeah. So my something cool actually involves children in jeopardy. Stranger Things.
Yes. Isn't that coming out Friday?
Is it out? Well, I'm excited that it's come. I'm watching the trailers, anxiously awaiting. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be
Stranger Things 2.
What is it?
Stranger Things. Have you not seen the first season?
No, I haven't.
What?
Well, again, I actually do watch with my wife, so I have to make sure
that you can watch this one. That. Yeah, she would love it, and you can watch it with the family.
Like we're working through other stuff.
I think Austin would dig it.
Cancel everything else. Just go to that. That's all.
It is really good. You know what else, Johnny, that you and Robin should start watching? I think you'd both really, really like it. I mean, with all your infinite time to watch these things. No, this is a serious answer. That show Episodes, I told you about it a while back.
Showtime.
Yeah, it's on Showtime. It's basically the show that Joey should have been that never was. And I think there's
Oh,
5.
come on, as if there was untapped potential, Joey.
No, this is good. Matt LeBlanc plays Matt LeBlanc. And and he's just a total like shallow asshole, but funny and very Joey-like. And I saw the last episode of the last season last night, and I like how it ends a lot. And I think anyone who likes Friends will enjoy it. So
there's also another new show coming on. That might actually, I somehow avoided signing up for Hulu despite all these good shows on there, like Handmaid's Tale. And
did they finally break you?
Yeah, this one, like it just, the commercials make it look pretty damn cool. Chance with Hugh Laurie.
Oh, I don't know this.
Check it. Find a trailer whenever we're off here. It looks really good. It looks like a pretty dark thriller. So
yeah, little Hulu tip for you. If instead of watching Hulu.com, you get Hulu Plus, you can pay more for shitty service, a bad interface, and more commercials. It's great.
More commercials on Hulu Plus?
Oh yeah, it's like they said. It's like they didn't understand the idea of paying for a premium.
Wow.
Fewer shows. There's a bunch of shows that are available on Hulu.com but not on Hulu Plus. It's great.
What?
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Oh,
it's
fuck it. I'm not getting it then. Forget it.
No, you just get an Apple TV and just stream that shit from a laptop or something. Anyway, so moving on. Like I said, we haven't done a summit centric show yet, and this isn't going to be like, yay, the summit, blah blah blah. But it is thematic around the summit because this is leveling up. Like I said, we're going to talk about how to level up wherever you are, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the Smarter Artist Summit is happening February 26th and 27th in Austin, and the early bird deadline is ticking away. So we extended a little bit. It's through November 15th. You get the early bird pricing. Beyond that, if you just want to give us extra money, you could do that, but I would advise against it. I would purchase your ticket before.
Yeah, please don't do that.
November 15th. So it's smarterartistsummit.com, but don't delay. So anyway, how do you want to begin on this, talking about leveling up here?
Well, I'm actually looking for my notes, which disappeared when my computer restarted. So,
okay. So basically, I mean, it all starts with knowing your why. To give you a hint on that. That anything that you want to do, this sounds really, and to anybody who listens to this show, it's like take a shot, right? But that said, if you don't know your why, then it's really hard to level up. If you say, I just want to do better in my author business, that doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't.
Okay, so let's start with knowing why you go. Okay, so Dave, let's start with you because you've always had the most difficult time, right? When you're attending anything, you go kicking and screaming. Not once have you been, that's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about that.
Well, to be fair, I don't like leaving my house.
Well, right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Thank you for agreeing with me. You don't like leaving your house. So every time you have, it's been a struggle. And every time you have, it's been a really positive force in your life. So how do you reconcile that? Like now that you know ahead of time, this is going to be good for me even if I hate it. So what is it ahead of time that you're looking for? What are you telling yourself that you hope to get out of any trip? So you're going to come here in February. What are you hoping to get when you go home in March?
Oh, I'm just showing up because I have to. I'm not looking for anything to get out of it or anything.
So if you want a begrudging Dave who's there because you're forcing him to.
So in all seriousness,
I enjoy it when I'm there, and I enjoy meeting people, and I definitely enjoy the conversations that I have with people that I otherwise, wouldn't get to meet because I live in Redacted and people aren't coming here. So I do enjoy that once I'm there, but all up to it, I don't enjoy that part at all.
Well, right, but there is something. Okay, let me ask you this, and you can be honest here. You can say, okay, I'm serious. You can be totally honest. If you did not know us and we were not making you come, would there be value in you coming?
I probably wouldn't go. I wouldn't go to anything really. There would be value, but I wouldn't go. The value would not outweigh my desire to stay home. unless I lived nearby. If I didn't have to get on a plane, which I hate more than almost anything in the world, then yeah, like if travel wasn't a problem for me, yes, I would love to go.
So do you think that even if you don't go, you know that you're leaving something on the table? Like, you know that you're leaving growth on the table, but that's okay with you. That's a tax you're willing to pay because it's better than the discomfort of leaving.
I don't. It's hard to say. Like, I mean, I am lucky that I'm with you two, so I get the benefits of growth because you guys are going and meeting people. So like,
fuck you.
So, really, I'm sure. Like, so I'm getting the benefit. You guys are already there. So.
Okay, so Dave's advice.
Being honest.
Dave's advice to everybody is skim off the top, right? Great. Okay.
But if I was on my own, then yes, I would find value there. It would depend where I am, really. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. Like you never know what opportunity is going to come. So I think if you go looking for an opportunity, then you may be disappointed. But if you go like just looking to meet people, opportunities sort of present themselves. It's a weird sort of thing. But then again, I'm like a negative person that I don't like to set myself up for disappointment.
Yeah, no, I like that answer. And I do think that it's about your expectations. And for my expectations, it's like, I just want to go learn. So, and that doesn't
definitely learn.
Yes, but learning to me is not about like what you actually quote unquote learn, right? For me, learning is the experience of it all. It's the not who is speaking, although that is important. It's who is going to be there. It's what is the vibe going to be like? It's who am I going to be talking to in between, sessions? Who am I going to drink with after the whole thing is done? And I don't necessarily mean at the summit. I mean anything. So recently I went to the event that I go to a couple times a year on a mountain. And it's...
That sounds vaguely cultish.
Well, it's not. It's our company mastermind that we pay to go to. Yeah. And before going last time, they sent this whole long, basically like a survey. What is it that we can give to you? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that will make this experience, what will maximize it for you? Like they're trying to tailor the experience a little bit. So I fill it out, and the only thing I could say is I don't like, all I want is to be a better human. I'm not looking for an ROI in a specific way. I mean, this is a mastermind where the end of our funnel in a lot of ways is $5 books. So it's very different than some of the more complicated businesses that are here. I don't want to find a way to sell books better because that's not really what it's about. I want to go to find intersections with other businesses and see the way other people are thinking and get my creativity sparked by being around really smart people and having really smart conversations. And they're going to get me. They're going to understand me in a way that, people in my every single day life necessarily don't. Now, I actually have to confess here that I'm really lucky in that way because my everyday life is filled with people who get me and encourage me and are part of
the opposite. So,
right, exactly.
And that is something that I do enjoy. When I go there, like every person that I talk to, I have gotten something out of it, whether it be, learning new things or just seeing how other creatives' minds work. I really do enjoy that. Like one of the conversations I had with Joanna Penn was pretty damned awesome. I mean, we've known Joanna for years, but it wasn't until I actually, spoke to her over dinner that like it's like an energy jolt to your brain. What?
Yeah, it's different when you're breaking bread. You're in the same place.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. And I think as time gets on, leveling up doesn't get harder, but you have to think about it differently. I think, so let's say if you're at the very beginning of your author journey, then leveling up is pretty simple. Like maybe finding some people to brainstorm with, going to watering holes like this is a good idea because you're going to find cover designers and editors. You're going to find other people who are part of the same community as you. And when you find a cover designer that you're face to face with and you vibe with them, that's a pretty great thing. You're going to be able to.
In our case, we just hire people.
Right. Yes, it's a great watering hole for us. We do tend to pluck from the crowd. That is one of our benefits. But I think you have to know what you're going for, and knowing what you're going for could be as simple as I'm going for the experience of going, and my mind is open to whatever intersections are there, whether that's new collaborative relationships. I mean, for me, that's probably what I would want most. And I'd like to broaden the definition of collaboration. I think we're working hard to broaden that definition because we really strongly feel that that's the future of this industry. And collaboration doesn't mean that you're necessarily collaborating in the way that Dave and I collaborate or that Johnny and I collaborate. Everyone listening to this is a collaborator. Like, you collaborate with your editors. If you're doing a good job anyway, you're collaborating with your editors and your cover designers. This week, we filled out some really detailed design briefs for covers that we're doing for our own internal projects. And we're really upping the game on there with, they're more collaborative pieces. Instead of ordering a cover, we're collaborating on the cover with our designer because we have this long-term relationship now and we speak shorthand. And so we're really trying to level up there. And you can level up your collaborations. You can level up your marketing mind. You can level up your creative tools. So what is it that you want? Then just when you naturally go to a place, you're going to be turned on to those types of things. So we're going to the Austin Film Festival starting tomorrow. And like we said at the beginning, we kind of don't know, like we'll see what happens. But we know that at Sterling and Stone, at some point, we want to get in the film and television business. And so we've started to write scripts. We know the vocabulary, and we're gonna make a couple of friends. We're gonna see a couple of people. Already, somebody from our audience reached out and said, "Hey, I work at the Austin Film Festival, and I heard that you guys are coming, and let's go have coffee." And that'll be fun. Like, we'll meet somebody who is a listener to the show, and they'll kind of help acclimate us a little bit. Oh, you guys should go here. You should go here, and that's going to be leveling up for us. We don't know how, but I'm really excited to tell you next week how awesome it was.
So I think, if we're looking at ways to level up, then think like a business person, right? So a lot of people still think, especially people who are at the beginning of this journey, tend to think in terms of being hobbyists. Now, I think that in this audience with smarter artists, you guys are less inclined to do that, but does your behavior match it? So again, if we're talking about leveling up, it's saying, where are the small and large efficiencies that you can find, little things that you can grab onto and make a discrete change? And I would encourage you to do an audit. Are you thinking like a business person? Are you treating selling as if it's something that you kind of reluctantly have to do, but you're really an artist? Sean mentioned broadening the idea of collaboration. Honestly, I don't think it's overstating it to say that one great way to level up, like if you want to level up, is to do more collaborating. Not necessarily with other authors if you don't want to have a true collaborative writing partner or something, but you should be getting professionals to do things like your cover. You should not, God, I really hope you aren't sending out batches of emails, but on your own. But that's a form of collaboration. It's a form of outsourcing, albeit a kind of a stretched one, is having a good service provider to automate your email funnels and stuff. People who are, if you're thinking like a business person, you are paying for tools. You are understanding that your business can't work with zero overhead. You don't have to have a store like Sean's flower shop. You get to have a virtual storefront where you have very little overhead, and yet so many people bitch about it. They don't think like business people. They don't want to have coaches and help and that sort of thing.
Okay, wait, Johnny. Let me ask you. When do you think is the dividing line? So there's got to be a point when you're first starting out. If you're really, really at ground zero and you're spending zero, like actual $0, you're trying to do everything. When's the first time when you say, I'm going to spend money on this? Do you wait until you cash flow a little bit on your book, or do you ahead of time say, this endeavor is going to cost me $1,000 and that's everything I have for round one? Like what would you do if you were starting over right now?
Well, if I was starting over right now and because that's a tricky question, because there's starting over is going back in time and being where you were. And then there's literally taking the knowledge.
It's hard to actually get in that mindset again.
Right, it is. Because I know that my mindset before was I wanted to totally bootstrap. I wanted to do things as cheaply as possible. And then once I had a little bit, I would reinvest it. However, if it's literally like a nuclear war knocks out my book catalog, but nothing else, right? Just my book catalog. And I had to do it over again, knowing what I know now. And it also knocks out my income, right? So I'm poor and I have to save up or whatever. I would still I would not skimp on a cover no matter what, knowing what I know now. That's the number one conversion element. I would probably try and bootstrap a lot of the rest until I had income coming in. But you have to invest up front if you're going to be thinking like a business person. Businesses take money. Businesses have profit and loss.
Well, okay. So actually, let me turn it to Dave real quick. Dave, how about you? What would you do? You're starting right now. Would you try to bootstrap everything for zero? And when would you, or from zero? And when would you say, okay, well, now I'm going to start spending? Or would you say, I'm going to have a budget and like, that's my ceiling?
I would spend what I could. I think it really depends on where you're at financially, like what your obligations are. Like if you've got a family to feed and you cannot afford to budget more, then you're in a different position than if you've actually, you can afford to do that. I would spend what I could. Like Johnny said, I would definitely spend on the cover. I would spend on editing because I need editing more than Johnny does. Everything else I would do on my own until I was in a position to do a little bit better. Yes.
One of the really big things, a huge theme for next year and kind of one of our focal points that we keep saying over and over and over within the company is everyone in the right seat and everyone leaning into their superpowers. And so that means that we want to make sure that we really surround ourselves with the right team, which we put a lot of attention. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we're bringing you, we're building out the actual studio. We're doubling the size of our team. That's a big deal. And so each one of those people that we add is really important. That's a family member that's going to hopefully be there for a long time. So that culture is important. The personality fit is important. But really, it's what are they bringing and what is their superpower? Because if you have a bunch of people who are really good at one thing, then that's great. But if you have all these people, that's the X-Men, right? It's because their powers are different.
What if everybody was Cyclopes?
Right, that would suck. That would totally, a room full of Cyclopes.
What can you do, Ray? Oh, come on.
Man. Yeah, that's not what you want. You need a Wolverine. You need all of it, right? And so
Phoenix.
That's what we're putting a lot of attention into. What is your superpower? And we discovered earlier this year, Dave's superpower is not writing stories. It's telling stories. And there is a distinct difference there. Writing a story takes him several months and a lot of misery. Telling a story is actually a pretty efficient process that he's really exceptional at. So let's lean into his superpower more, produce more. We get to tell more stories, make more money, and help more authors get a really big leg up and produce also. It's win-win-win, and that's the collaboration. But within that collaboration, what are you really good at? So when you're leveling up, what is it that you can focus on think about this upside down. Instead of thinking, what kind of superpowers do I need to really take my author level to the next business? Instead, focus on what are my superpowers that could really take somebody else's author business to the next level? How could I help somebody else level up? Because I think that's the real beauty of collaboration is that if you're really invested in your partner, it's not 50-50. It's not like, I don't have a thriving marriage because we each give 50%. I have a thriving marriage because we both give 100%. And so when I'm working with Dave or when I'm working with Johnny or when I'm working with Jen or Christine or anybody, I want to give 100% to that collaboration, to that back and forth. And when you're looking for collaborators and you know what you're good at, you know what your superpower is, and you're giving 100% of that, you're going to exponentially help them grow. And if they're hitting that volley back, you can do pretty unlimited things. So find the people in your life, in your world, in your sphere who have the superpowers that are compatible with your own. And watering holes are the very best place to make that happen. So whether that's the summit or something else in your own community, or to a lesser extent, I do think you can accomplish some of this on message boards or Facebook or whatever. But I think it's always going to be, it's just not the same. It can't be.
It's exponentially better as somebody who has done both for years. It's just, believe me, doing it online virtually, infinitely better than doing it entirely by yourself and not talking to anyone else. That said, being in person with somebody, infinitely better than being online. It's just different.
100% of the time. I mean, we've never had, I'll say this, we've had something significant happen for the business 100% of the times that we have traveled or had a live event, 100%. But I don't think anything truly significant has ever happened in an online interaction in the same way. I can't think of one. Maybe there is one, but off the top of my head, I can't think of any. So that's a pretty glaring ratio, 100% to significant things. Now, that doesn't mean things haven't started online, but that's different. Things happen very fast in person. You can really tell a lot about a person's energy and drive. And when you're, drinking with somebody at 11:30 after, a long day of spending time together in a social sphere where you have a lot of common denominators, things happen fast.
Well, and there are people that I've met online, and you get a vibe. You get a certain vibe, and then you think, well, we're not really compatible. And then you meet them in person, you're like, whoa, we're really compatible. You just didn't know it. Like, I can think of 2 or 3 times that's happened, and then great things happen.
Like with me.
Like with Dave. That's what I thought. I thought, what a dynamo. So a lot of this is, know yourself, know your abilities. And so, appropriately enough, taking inventory is a really great way to level up too. Now, this is of different facility depending on where you are. If you're a true beginner, then you have less to take inventory of. But if you have at least one book out, then, and ideally if you have more, then taking in inventory is a great way to level up going forward. A lot of us treat books like info product launches, where you launch it once and then that's it and it's done. And it just isn't that way. Like any book, Fat Vampire has been doing well in the charts, and it's always against this upstart called Salem's Lot, which I think is brand new. Like Salem's Lot continues to sell every day in large numbers, despite the fact that it's 40 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of months being impressed with Fat Vampire, but Salem's Lot is 40 years older.
I hear that guy has a good track record.
Yeah, it is impressive, and I mean that's a whole nother topic. But I know that we are going to be talking a lot about that at the summit. Just the idea of creating perennial content, and that's another deep way of leveling up too. Is making sure that you're creating a catalog that is going to be as worth, as worthy to you 20 years from now as it is now. You don't want something that has diminishing returns. You want something that's quite the opposite. You should be as a creative entrepreneur, you should be making more money on your IP every year. And as long as you continue to produce.
Right. And that's what taking inventory is looking at your past catalog and even your current, what's coming up and saying, how can I tweak it? How can I do a little better? If the cover isn't great, do a new cover. If it didn't launch well, you can relaunch it. You can do a more professional edit. You can change calls to action at the beginning and end. You can look at buy through. What number of people buys book 2, and then how many of those people buy book 3 in a series, and try to tweak those things and look for your underperformers. It's kind of like finding gold that you didn't know you already had. And then I would say another big way to level up is crafting a better reader experience. There's several kinds of authors out there, and this is part of knowing your why. None is better or worse than the other, but our why is we want lasting names and long-term fans. So we want people who remember our book when they're done. And there's a lot of authors who don't really care. They're just like, I'm in this to sell as many as possible. It doesn't really matter if I have longevity, but for us, it does.
Well, I think there are a few different categories of authors here. I think there are authors who really want to do the right thing and they want to create great books, and they want to play it long. I think there are authors who are really just trying to cash out as fast as they can and churn and keep going. And then I think there are authors that are somewhere in the middle and kind of don't know the difference, right? They may even think they're creating wonderful classic works because people are reading them, because so many people are reading them. But it's like sites that got a ton of traffic when they were the first search result, 10 years ago. That doesn't mean that they could survive once Google got really good at semantic indexing, and you couldn't keyword stuff your way to the top. It changed. So a lot of people were getting read and getting traffic because of the way they were organizing their metadata. And there's some of that going on with Amazon, where it's not merchandised, it's all algorithmically driven, and that can be manipulated, and readers are picking up stuff. But there's going to be a lot of market correction over the next few years. That's going to continue to happen. And some of the people who aren't on one side or the other are going to have to kind of go on one side or the other, because you either have to create, Candy Crush type of churn and burn, or you've got to really build an author name. Right now, I think you can survive in the middle, but I don't think that's going to be the case always.
But I think that a great way to level up is to pay more attention to what is the reader experience. So many of us are focused on what is my experience? How many books am I selling? Yeah. And you want to say, what is the reader experience? So if you have this, I can only be vague here because it's hard to be specific, but if you have an option that may sell more books, but burn readers a little bit more and not be as genuine of a reader experience, something they want to come back for, Sterling and Stone anyway would opt to not do that in favor of something that will perform a little less well, but will build more of those 1,000 true fans, that will build people that will read the book and say, I remember that book. That wasn't just one of 50 that I read that year.
100% of the time. 100% of the time.
Right. So that's all about just looking at the reader journey. What do they see when they encounter your book? Does it make a promise that they're eager to delve in on, and then does the book deliver on that promise? Are the sequels as good as the first book? That sort of thing.
It's almost like I think you hit a really good point there, Johnny, where it's there. You can't focus on what your experience is. You have to focus on what the reader's experience is. Because if a lot of people looked at their books as, okay, most people who are writing indie publishing right now, I would say, came to it for a love of reading. Sure, there's some people who are just trying to cash out. I get that. But I also think that most people, even if they are trying to cash out, still came from a place of loving stories, of loving books, of wanting to tell stories, right?
Right.
So, but I think there's a lot of authors who are creating content that they would be insulted by if they purchased it. If they actually went and bought it and saw that cover and that description and that layout formatting inside and, that unedited copy, they would be insulted. But
I think this is especially true in nonfiction.
Yeah, I do.
There's a lot of people that are like making these little 40-page pamphlets and putting them on KDP Select, and they're making a lot of money, but the books really suck.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's especially true in nonfiction. I think it's true in indie publishing. I think there is, because anyone can publish, anyone does, and that's okay. Like this is a frontier. This is a new market, and that's going to happen, and the market is going to correct itself. And I think that's all fine, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But it's a great time as authors to ask ourselves who we want to be and what things are going to be like in 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and what kind of a flag are we planting? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I think that if you're allegiant to what you hold true and what you hold dear, then you're going to make a better series of decisions. If you're just kind of figuring it out month to month, that's not leveling up at all. That's the opposite. That's kind of like, getting stuck on the same level over and over because you can't beat the boss.
Right. Yeah. So let's also talk about flow. This is another thing that we've tweaked. I don't know how much Dave tweaks it. This sounds like it sounds like the beginning of a punchline. But I know that I like to adjust things all the time. So, what schedule works best. So this is kind of like if you're optimizing and you're taking inventory of your books to adjust and sort of get some of that low hanging fruit. This is like personally. This is like your workflow wise. Understand when in the day you write best, whether you're sort of a splurge writer, like a binge writer, and then you take periods where you're quiet, or whether you work with slow and steady, which I would argue is probably most people. Where are your best energy? Where are your levels for your places for improvement? So I know that we've mentioned Robert McKee's book Dialogue a few times, and some other books that we've read where it's like, I wouldn't probably have thought, boy, I have a problem with dialogue. Like, that's an area where I really, really need improvement. I probably wouldn't have thought that. But then I do that book, I read that book, and I'm noticing all sorts of ways that I can improve. And that's what you want to do, is what is your flow, what's going into your head, what's coming out in productivity.
Yeah, I would say for 100% of these categories, whether it's business or craft or networking or just any of it really, customer experience, all of this stuff, I don't think there's ever any point where you're done. Like, okay, there's no more leveling up to be done. You're at level 99 or infinity or whatever. And it just doesn't go any higher. No, I think there's always more to learn. And, I mean, I said this earlier, it gets hard. It's not harder to level up, but you have to put more thought into it. You have to go to different kinds of watering holes or look for different kinds of influences. But there's nothing, we're still really, really looking into customer experience and really looking into every part of our, what we're doing. We're going to the Austin Film Festival because we're trying to level up in the way we tell stories, because
right, it's not like we're just like, we want to go watch films. We know that something is going to happen there that we couldn't even tell you what it is now.
Right. But we know someone's going to say something, because McKee, we flew to LA to hear a guy who's admittedly long-winded, and we'd already read his book, which he pretty much reads verbatim. Like, that's what the McKee conference is. Knowing that even though we're really fluid on all of this stuff, all we need is a couple of takeaways to really make the trip worth it, because we're professional storytellers. And so a couple of takeaways that influence the way we tell stories for the rest of our lives, highly, highly valuable. So you always have to think about, what are this actually goes with the just-in-time learning thing that we were talking about a few episodes ago. And by the way, everyone who emailed on that, thank you. Like, I'm really glad that touched a nerve, because I think it's a really great focus for how to absorb information, really in all ways. But in this particular topic, it's such a fire hose. There's so much out there. And if you really focus on what you need when you need it, you'll get where you're going faster. So anyway, I think that looking for the specific ways that you need to improve right now, because maybe your craft is good enough right now and you need to focus on your business brain and then focus on that. Maybe your business brain is fine and you really need to work on your craft. Your books are selling fine on the first book, but people aren't buying the second book. Really take the time to deconstruct what's working and what not, so you can figure out why. Because that's a really good example. If you have a first book that is consistently getting a lot of traffic and consistently moving, but you have no career despite having 5 books in that series, something is wrong with your writing. You're not compelling people to get to your second book. So you've got to figure that out. Really work on the end, right? Your third act. Get people wanting that next book. And third act problems are usually first act problems. So maybe you need to rewrite. Maybe you need to read a book on structure and really get that. But the point is, level up everything, but not all at once. It's too overwhelming.
Right. Maybe a more advanced strategy for those of you that have a lot out there would be adapting your work into different mediums. This is something that we don't always think of. I think that we tend to think ebook, and then maybe I'll do a paperback and it'll just kind of be there. And then maybe I'll do an audiobook, but that's it.
Hardback if you're a baller.
Hardback if you're a baller and you don't actually want to sell any of them, which is great. Although they make great giveaways if you want to pay for shipping. But there are things that you can do that maybe these are little by little. Maybe these are the sort of thing that you just wait for an opportunity. You wait to meet the right person. But, we're looking into, foreign rights is a good example. We haven't at S&S been big fans of translation and selling ourselves, because we don't understand those markets and the conventions and what sells, and we don't read the language. But the opportunity to sell foreign rights and just let somebody else handle it, we've done that a few times. We've also sold some audiobook rights as opposed to just doing it ourselves through ACX, but also more advanced things like, again, to go to the Austin Film Festival, we submitted 4 screenplays adapted from our work. Now, did any of them win or make finalist rounds, let alone be optioned for film? No, but that doesn't matter. The exercise is there, and eventually we're going to come to a point where we're going to be able to sell adapted screenplays. So good to learn it. Graphic novels, video games, merchandise. These are all places where you can kind of just look to level up your game.
Yeah, Dave, how excited will you be when there's a Collective Inkwell video game at some point?
I think that would be quite awesome.
So do you think, although
a TV show is better to me.
Well, okay, but a TV show is really straightforward, because this isn't too much of a digression, because this is kind of what we're talking about. This is the future. This is leveling up. Like, for us at this point, and I think there's, this certainly isn't relevant to every author listening, but I think a lot of authors, especially those who have been kicking around for several years, and they have a couple of different series, and maybe pretty good world building. That's the right ingredients for what is coming next with transmedia and with moving our IP horizontally. And it's really easy for the way we've built the stories and the worlds in Sterling and Stone. It's really easy to see the day when we're going to have television out there. That's very natural to what we're doing. But games are a whole different dimension. And do you think, Dave, this is just a point of curiosity, as we level up, do you think that we're going to write something original for a game? When Collective Inkwell makes its first game or produces, I don't think we're going to be making any game ever, but when we produce and our ideas are turned into a game at some point, do you think it will come from something we've already done or something that we will do specifically for that medium?
Already done. Specifically a fantasy book that I would like to write. So
yeah, that's really interesting.
Got it. It's handled.
So I'm glad. All right, I'm going to put that on 2019.
I'm already creating it in my head. So
all right, 2019. It's on the list.
The last thing I would mention in terms of leveling up is to consider, shared world stuff. This is something that we've talked a little bit about, that we've begun doing. I know that we mentioned before we did a world builder summit. We did one. We're doing another one. We will do more in the future, where we actually get people into a writer's room essentially, and we're making up like the canon rules and putting them into Story Shop and marking up 3 different whiteboards at once, and everybody's just laying around and just like the writer's room environment. The collaborative energy is amazing, but even without that, having shared canon and allowing the algorithms to work for you, where you have, somebody buys this book and then the also bots are telling them that and that are also in the same world, and then also right back at you.
Look at how Michael Anderle is just owning that. Like he's just owning it. Like his webs are so tight that you enter it and it's just like all the street lights turn on and start shining on you. It's crazy.
Yeah. So anything else we want to mention in terms of leveling up before I?
Well, I mean, I could talk about my favorite one by far. It's the production model. It's where we're taking the company. It's the idea of, I mean, from the very beginning with Sterling and Stone, we were, I don't know how many people know this, but there was a version of the Beam completely before Johnny wrote it.
I know that.
Yeah. And I really like the ideas in there. I like the world a lot. I like the characters, but the book just didn't feel ready to me. And so it got shelved. But that was the first fiction project that Sterling and Stone actually ever produced. A year later, when I started writing with Johnny and we did the Beam, we took the same beats and heavily evolved them. And Johnny came up with amazing additions like Shift, which is just still delightful. Like I just love it so much. And that became this amazing thing. But
I didn't know that was a Johnny idea. That's like one of my favorite things about it.
Shift. Yeah.
Wait, you read the Beam, Dave? I thought you only got to the weddings.
I've read half of it, but I know, like, I love the story idea. So I just haven't finished it.
So no, Johnny added just a shit ton of texture to it, and that's collaboration at its finest. And it's taken us a few years to get back to that, but it's always been the soul, and it's been something that we've been excited to get back to, and now we're there. And the idea of telling, because I love telling stories with Dave. I love telling stories with Johnny. We can only write so many, but we can make up a lot. That's a pretty fun thing to do. And we can work with other authors to scale those ideas. And so we're going to start to do that. And I think that for a lot of authors out there, that might be the future. There's a lot of people listening right now who they've got it. This is what they do. They're working full time. They have more ideas than they can produce. There might be a way to start scaling that. And there's been a few authors in the Stone Table who have been aggressively, moving towards that model. And it's really exciting to see because it is a way to scale your brain.
So speaking of, you mentioned Michael and earlier a little bit ago, maybe this is a good transition. So people have been asking about what exactly is going to happen at the summit, because we've been teasing out like the speaker list and stuff. And, but here we are in the show talking about it. So we might as well spend some time and just really kind of delve deep, tell you guys a little bit more about it. As you could probably tell from my transition, one of our speakers is Michael Anderle. His topic, we haven't gotten these all really refined, but it has sort of the tantalizing tentative title of $0 to $2 million in 2 years. So that's
you can do it too.
Right. That's actually the tagline is you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. So Michael, we already mentioned Honoré Corder, who's going to talk about the math and mechanics of how you can make a living and grow your income as a full-time author. That's a leveling up discussion as well. And sorry, something else going on here. So we talked about Michelle Spiva, who Sean and I spent a lot of time with Michelle at NINC, and she was thrown table. And
oh my gosh, she's on fire. You guys need to nap before she talks, though. Like, it's just you need to take a nap.
Right, but amazing. Like if you were there last year, she was our favorite commenter. Like she's just like, I'm getting up to the front of this.
She'll just grab the mic.
Grab the mic. She was on the show before. She's a fountain of just amazing knowledge. There's been
in the first year that we did the summit, she was there, and I didn't really talk to her much, so I didn't get to learn anything from her at first. And I think the first year she kind of stayed in the background, but the second year we actually got to talk to her, and I think I learned more from her than anybody else.
Astonishing the stuff she comes up with.
Yeah, she would just sit. I mean, she was at the table, and she would sit there and just I'm sorry. She'd say I'm sorry every time. Like, she didn't want to interrupt. But then she would say, I'm sorry, and then say something amazing that no one should ever have to apologize for. And it was just over and over and over. The only time she aired the whole day was when she did handwriting analysis and completely misdiagnosed Dave by saying that he was actually kind of happy inside.
Yeah, she got that part off.
Yeah, that was way off. But other than that, awesome.
That did call into question my judgment of her, though. Like, oh, maybe she's completely
right, because it wasn't just off; it was so
opposite. She was messing with us. We're gonna have Julie Hopkins. A lot of you guys don't know Julie. Well, we should probably have her on the show here eventually.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, Julie's topic is tentatively about starting with conversion, designing your book cover to sell. But more importantly, Julie is running Stories to Go for us. And I do realize that on the Self-Publishing Podcast, I don't think we've even really talked about Stories to Go.
I would guesstimate 20% of our audience maybe knows what Stories to Go is.
But you will soon, and it's kind of a game. It's a paradigm shifter. It's something that we think is going to change the game a lot. But she's running a division of Sterling and Stone for us right now called Stories to Go. Can I send people to the waiting list if they just want to know what it is?
Yes, I'll
There's
say
no
yes.
reason not to, right? Stories to Go, as in TO, not the number. Stories2go.io. You can see kind of what it is. We'll reopen that later, but Julie's running that for us. And so a lot about like commercial fiction and conversion elements, and there's going to be a lot of good meat to that. And then we recently got BookBub is going to be speaking, which I'm really looking forward to. We talked to BookBub at NINC and said, we don't know what their topic is, but they've committed to come. But they're thinking on their topic, and they said, you go ahead and tell people.
Well, actually, can I just jump in here for a second? Because I like how this unfolded. We were discussing topics with them, and we were kind of commiserating that, like, when we had to give a topic for NINC, it was way ahead of time. And that, like, things move fast. And it was very difficult in June to decide what we were going to talk about in October because, like, we evolve very quickly, and I want to, if I'm getting in front of an audience, and the moment I step on stage, I want to feel confident that I'm speaking from my heart and with the latest, most accurate information. And that's hard to do months ahead of time. And I know they're probably, they say the same things over and over because people want to know the same things. And we just said, hey, like, we trust you guys. You tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll frame that. And that's really exciting. I know when somebody comes to us that way and tells us we can deliver the information how we want to, and we're like, no, like, we're the smart artists. That's the way we do it. It's, you take your information and we'll synthesize it and give it to our people. And so I'm really excited about BookBub because they are game changers and they think completely out of the box. And I think given the platform to really have a conversation and talk without the prescriptive, like, kind of this is what people want to know, is going to be extraordinary.
Without it being how to get a BookBub, which is what they end up talking about most of the time. We're like, you guys tell us what you most want to talk about, what you feel authors need to know. And we don't know what that is yet, but they're masters in so many fields that it's just like, they're not just the nuclear option for getting your book in front of people, which is amazing. Christine wants me to clarify in kind of a killjoy way, Christine, fine. that Michael's topic is not, and you can do it too, right? It's not like you can get $2 million too. I'm also not a lawyer or a doctor.
It's you can't do it.
We're going to have a panel. We don't know all the members yet, but that'll be like an industry panel, sort of an ask the experts sort of thing. I have some ideas, but I don't want to commit on any of that. And then additionally this year, so that's the 6 speaker slots. I just went like this for 6 speaker slots. That would be this, 6 speaker slots that we had.
That's okay. Most people can't see you.
But we each have a dedicated slot this year. So in the past, the Sterling and Stone guys have kind of been like cohorts to people on the stage, but we have dedicated slots both days this year. So there'll be 2 presentations from us.
And we have a lot to say, actually.
Yeah, there's been a lot that's been changing and going on over these, and going into next year. Like without belaboring it, we've been saying for 2017, the goal was to prepare for 2018. So we'll be in 2018 by the time the summit happens. So we'll be able to talk about it. And we're organizing a bunch of other things that, again, I can't give you a lot of details just quite yet on them because we're finalizing them. But events around the summit, like cocktail hours, or Alyssa kind of masterminded karaoke in the past, but we'll make that that'll probably be a formal thing with a sponsor behind it and hopefully free drinks and that sort of thing. But I don't want to commit to any of that. But we are organizing those. There's some really cool swag is underselling it because it's more like memorable pieces of. Well, I don't want to get into that, but there's other shit going on that you're just going to dig the hell out of this.
And an ayahuasca tent in the mountains.
There will not be an ayahuasca tent in the mountains.
Like Christine just said, there's no ayahuasca. I do want to.
Would you come if there was an ayahuasca tent?
No.
Oh, by the way, we should announce the Dave event in Colorado. No, I won't announce that.
Was that on this show or worst show ever?
I think it was on this show a few weeks ago. But I don't want to distract on that. We're talking.
I actually want to find out how many people opted in for that.
Yeah, but are they willing to actually put up money to pay for their lodging? I think it's really worth mentioning in terms of leveling up. Like, we've leveled up the venue a lot this year. I'm really excited about it. It's at the Renaissance Arboretum in Austin. It's north of the city, so there isn't the downtown congestion. Downtown's cool, but downtown's also very expensive. A lot of people broke the bank last year paying for the very expensive hotel and paying to park and all that. None of that. It has a lot and you park in it, and it's this beautiful hotel, and it doesn't have downtown pricing, and it's huge.
Yeah, we do make mistakes. We don't make them twice. And last year, like we chose the wrong venue, and I mean, we were a little more hands off than we should have been probably, but even so, like we looked at the pictures and they said the room held a certain size number, and we sold under that number, and it was still way, way too crowded. So that was claustrophobic and stupid and sucky, but we got a ton of room this year, and it's a beautiful venue, and we're really excited.
Yeah, Renaissance Arboretum. We sent out an email earlier today. Today, you don't know what day this is, but by the time you would have
what day is it, Johnny?
It's the 24th. But you should have gotten an email if you're on the list. If you didn't, just Google Renaissance Arboretum. We're in like the grand ballroom. It's whatever the massive room is with just tons of space, and really looking forward to that. But it's February 26th and 27th of 2018 in Austin, and the URL is smarterartistsummit.com. I'll just remind you guys that the early bird deadline does end on November 15th. That's extended. But it does end then, so make sure you get your tickets before then. Lots of good industry guests. I wish I could drop names, but that's a little tacky. So yeah, some really cool stuff going on. Anything else to add before we close up shop for today?
No, other than I'm really excited. I think year 3. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. Oh, I do have one thing to add. Wait, what did you say, Dave?
I do like that hotel.
Yeah.
Dave likes that.
Yeah,
hotel.
Dave likes this hotel. Look, he's actually glowing. Look at Dave.
Dave did not like Estancia, though, which is within walking distance, which he's crazy. They serve meat on swords. They just walk around and more meat on sword.
And it's unlimited. Like if you're like, I'm full, and they're like, it's okay, and they hold a sword out, and you just pull filet mignon off it. It's delicious. Dave's crazy.
Wasn't it Jamie Davis was saying he was getting the meat sweats?
Maybe. But yeah, it's Dave, you're crazy. And the only thing, we actually checked because he said he could eat chicken. But the only chicken they have is chicken on little bones, and he just wouldn't eat it.
They had chicken wrapped in bacon.
And they did have that.
Would you like some meat with your meat?
That's how I like me, mate. No, so there are some collaboration exercises that we're gonna do that are gonna be really fun, and just that is our theme, is leveling up, and collaboration is kind of the scaffolding around that. And it's just we have big ideas and great execution, and I'm just really excited, and I hope to see as many of you as possible there.
So that's smarterartistsummit.com. Deadline is November 15th for the early bird. Make sure you get in before then. And it's being held February in Austin, February 26th, 27th. Do hope to see you guys there. It was amazing the past 2 years, and it's going to be the best of all three this year. I just know we're putting so much focus on it. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Now I am looking forward to going.